Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So it's bright and early, mind, body, and soul, daily discipline. This is how we get through. I want to get into a topic today and talk about individuality. I was listening to a talk by Jordan Peterson and John McWhorter. And John McWhorter is a professor at Columbia University. A really interesting guy, intellectual. And he made a statement that I had to start thinking about. And so I want to talk today about individuality versus groupthink. And he said, his quote is, individuality is not natural. And he clearly believes that individuality is not natural. And I started to think about that, and I think that he's correct. Individuality is not natural to us as humans, as a human creature, as a human animal. We're not meant to be individuals. It sounds so strange to people because many of us hold individuality as our core value. The human animal is a social animal. We pair up, we have family structures. It's the way it's been since the dawn of time. That's how we survive. It's very rare that someone can survive alone. A baby is dependent upon their parents. A child also, our offspring are dependent upon us for a long time, well into their teenage years or young adult years. Kids don't leave the nest until they're 18, and they don't go out on their own into the woods. They go to college or the military, you know, generally speaking, into the arms of others, into other groups. They're not alone. We don't survive alone. So, right? I mean, we get this. But yet, on the same token, we want to be an individual. Being an individual means that you will be alone. I don't think that a lot of people really get that. Being an individual means being alone, and a lot of people can't handle that. They don't want that. They don't want to be alone in their thinking. They may not want to be with the mainstream, and that's where individuality gets confusing. And some people think that being an individual is simply not being a part of the mainstream. But they're still part of a group. They could still be a victim of groupthink. They're just part of a smaller subset of the mainstream. That subset could be anti-mainstream, but the mainstream is a group, and the subset that's anti-mainstream is also a group. Both are groupthink. We find out how hard it is to be an individual as a kid, and it's funny how so many young people, not just kids, but young people, struggle to be included and to embrace the opposite of individuality, of inclusion, of group identity. Being hip with the fashion means that you're joining in a group think. And when you show up to school dressed weird, or show up to work dressed weird, people tease you, sometimes viciously so. And you will go and change your style, buy new clothes. Someone will help you to buy clothes. They have people that do this professionally that can help you to choose outfits that help you fit in better. It's all about fitting in. Look at the downtown financial district in any major city. It used to make me laugh because I live downtown LA, and I used to drive through the financial district on occasion and see during rush hour the business suits, the ocean of business suits, and it would make me laugh. And I would think, you know, the kids grew up their whole lives to being part of teams, part of groups, part of a family structure, all of which infiltrates their thought process, guides their thought process, or manipulates their thought process to go to college, learn a bunch of stuff which we could argue is yet further the education. Sure, it's education. We think of education as enlightenment, as freedom, but in some ways our education is really just memorizing a bunch of crap that came before us so we could fit into a program, into a culture. And When you go and buy your suit, you graduate, you go and buy your briefcase and your suit. You get a job in an office in a little cubicle, and everybody looks the same. Everybody is doing similar work. And that becomes people's lives, and it's so strange, it's so Orwellian, it's so weird, but every one of those people goes home at night, goes online, and thinks they're an individual. Every one of those people will go on to Amazon and order whatever product they want. You ordered a coffee machine, and maybe I ordered some sneakers. We're individuals. That's individuality. Your individuality becomes your purchasing. So these corporations got you. Force you to conform your whole life, feed you a fantasy of individuality as a freedom from conformity and from oppression. But it's all a shell game, and what you're really doing is just purchasing stuff. They're just tricking you into buying stuff. It's such a funny hustle. I'm a hustler, so it's funny. I mean, it's fucking us up. So I'm not trying to bash individuality. I'm not trying to say, don't be an individual. What I'm trying to say is most of us aren't, even though we think we are. And it's not natural for us to be individuals, but you can still be an individual, but it means you're going to have to go against your nature. So it means that instead of seeking groups, you have to seek being alone. Seek to be alone and be comfortable with being alone in your belief system. That can be difficult. Religion is groupthink. I'm a Christian. Well, you're brainwashed mind slave, right? I mean, I'm not trying to put down Christians in any religion. It's the same way. I mean, if you want to think that you're an individual, how do you go to church on Sunday and sit there and listen to that crap? If you want to think that you're an individual, how do you work in a little cubicle? How do you call yourself an individual if your only choices that separate you from the next person is what you shop for? Or the one of the three religions that people, you're a Christian and I'm a Jew, well, we're both individuals. Completely different. Even though it's pretty much the same book. Right? I read the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran on the way over to the Middle East when I went 22 years ago, around the year 2000. They're difficult books to read, and they're all the goddamn same. There's even overlaying themes that go to all three books, and time periods, and locations. And it takes up most of the planet, with the exception of the Buddhists and the other religions, but it's just interesting to me that so many of us embrace individuality around the world as one of our core beliefs, and we'll plant our flag, say that we're individuals, scream and yell if somebody tries to say that we're not. How dare you? You know, like it's a fight now. I gotta fight for my existence now. You have to fight to be different if you want to be an individual. You have to fight to separate yourself from the group if you want to be an individual. This is why individuality is so incredibly difficult, because there's always groups. You'll always find 3,000, 30,000, 3 million, 300 million people somewhere that believe just what you believe. And you got a big middle finger up to the government saying, fuck the government. So does everybody. That's not individuality. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not trying to tell you to go follow the government. I'm just saying you can't express that as individuality. You have to understand where you're at, what game you're playing. We're all playing groupthink because that's part of our species. I know this is going in circles, but I wanted to point out what individuality was. And individuality is aloneness. Individuality is being weird, having people call you crazy, not having any validation. Individuals don't get validated because the second you get validation from somebody else, you're engaging in groupthink. So all your ideas, your beliefs, your whole existence is going to be weird and odd to every single person. Do you really want to be an individual? when you look at it like that, a lot of people retract and say, well, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go back to the fake individuality of buying whatever color sneakers on Amazon that I like, buying whatever album I like off of Spotify, and just express that as my individuality. And all these women that paint their makeup to look like they're Elvira, like goth, as an expression of individualism, and yet go to a corporate job. And I'm not making fun of anybody, but I know people like this. They look at themselves as extremely individualistic and artsy, and college campuses are like this. A lot of young people really get passionate when they go to college about intellectualism, and you start learning stuff that you never, start thinking about stuff that you never thought about before, and learning things that you never knew before, and it can be incredibly invigorating. And I remember being that way on campus at UCLA and places like that. And you can start to think in ways that are what you feel like are individualistic from what you've been taught, from what your parents tried to force upon you, or your friends, and now you're choosing your own path. But as you walk across the quad to your next class, you see an ocean of baseball caps, hoodies, and backpacks. Every single person is wearing a set of brand new sneakers, a cool little watch. Everybody has the same cell phone. It's not individuality. It's just part of a new herd. It's all food for thought. Have a great day.